What is going on, everybody? Tim from Tirfon Orbital. The Electrum EvoFlex. No, this will not be another op-ed rant video. This is actually an install video, and it will be a demo video for the client. This is another Electrum EvoFlex swap, Proffie swap. However, this one is a little bit different than my previous ones in that I was able to utilize or that carry over the touch button controls that come stock from Electrum. I was able to carry it over to a Proffie build, and this is the first time that I've done this. I know I've heard for a little while that Proffie is compatible with capacitive touch buttons, but I don't think many people have been able to carry over the actual touch function of an Electrum hilt over into a Proffie build. I mean, I think some installers have done it, but it's not commonly known how to, from what I understand. So I want to talk a little bit about what I did to achieve this. I will talk about the chassis a little bit, and then we'll do a demo and we'll get out of here, right? So if anyone who knows me knows I love the EvoFlex. I do. I love the look of the EvoFlex. It's a really rad looking hilt, and when you put a Proffie in it, it just makes it a more fun hilt to use. Makes it a more reliable hilt. So, client reached out to me and wanted something similar to my previous Electrum swaps with some of the shine through and the venting, as well as a removable chassis. And they also requested that we keep touch buttons functionality. So I was able to do that with this build. During the uninstall, so typically when I get an Electrum hilt for a swap, I remove the core. And this time I carefully removed the clamp card switch assembly. And basically all I did was tone out the leads from Electrum's clamp card assembly. So what you will see is, and I'll probably post a picture right now, there are 7 leads coming out of the Electrum clamp card, okay? 3 of those obviously are your switch legs, your ground, main, and aux. The other 4 leads are for the onboard SMD LEDs. And all I had to do was tone those out. I just had to tone them out and figure out which were my positive and which were my negative leads. And that was just a process of elimination, right? There is some labeling on the back of the clamp card from Electrum, but it's not like standardized labeling. It's not like they're labeled LED 1 and LED 2 and this and that. So it was just a process of elimination, figuring out which leads went to where. And then I just wired them up to the Proffie board as I would normally do. With this particular build, I mean, I have a PCB. There's a 6-rail PCB, and you have to write in the code for touch buttons in the prop file rather. But other than that, it was that simple. And I wired it up to my PCB, wired up my chassis, put it in, and I didn't even have to make any edits to the config at all. Like touch sensitivity was exactly where it needed to be. I think the touch sensitivity is stock at 1700 with Proffie board. I didn't have to change anything. It was that easy. I did not expect it to be that easy, but it was. I really didn't think the capacitive buttons would work from Electrum carrying over to Proffie, but they did. So let's talk about the chassis first, and then we'll go over how to use it. So this is Infusion. This is the chassis that I've designed for the EvoFlex. Room for your battery sits here. There is room for a 28mm speaker, and this one I put a 28mm bass Elite speaker from Smuggler's Outpost. Kill switch. There is a waist section around the middle here that I put a 2020 NeoPixel strip inside of. This allows for shine through in the vent area of the middle of the hilt. And up top here, I put 2 35 NeoPixels, like regular size NeoPixels. These are the blacked out version that Smuggler's Outpost offers. I put just 2 singles up here and wired them up. And then we've got a 6-rail PCB connector from CCsabers, and that's it. Proffie board sits in here. There is room to flip the Proffie board up. However, I do recommend using a 90-degree connector with this one. So I did put, I'll go over this when we do an up close on the chassis. I put like a very, very tiny bead of E6000 underneath this Proffie board and these rails here, just to keep it secure. And you can get at the SD card and the USB with a 90-degree USB connector. It'll flip up. It's really, really close to the lip here, and I just wanted to make sure it was nice and secure. So I did secure it with a little bit of E6000. And that's it. Really, really simple. Okay? Let's do an like a top-down guy. So this is the hilt. Beautiful. Beautiful EvoFlex. I love the EvoFlex. I love the way it looks. I'm a huge fan of this hilt. Okay? So to get at your chassis, you want to unscrew the grip. Here is the chassis. So what I didn't talk about going over the chassis design, I also designed some clear resin windows to go over those neopixels to allow for a little bit better diffusion during that shine through. So here's the Proffie board. As I said, it's press fit in there. I just put a little bit of E6000 just to kind of keep it nice and secure. I am going to ship this particular hilt with a 90-degree ribbon connector. These are super handy. I use them all the time. So I'm going to send that to the client. I'm going to send that with this hilt. And you can get it your SD card and all that good stuff. So there's the chassis. I also did some very slight body modifications to these upper vents. Okay, so getting this upper shroud off of the hilt is a little bit difficult. So you've got to take off all of your hardware. It almost felt like it was a silicone glue of some sort that keeps the shroud on. So I needed to heat it up a little bit with a heat gun, loosen up that epoxy, and then this whole outside shroud comes off. And then I made some routes in the body of the hilt for that extra shine through. Okay, and then put it back on. The PCB connector sits right here, just above the clamp card section. Okay, so that's how I'm able to take the leads from this switch. They go underneath this clamp card, and I make a penetration right behind this clamp card, and that's how I get to my PCBs. And there's a PCB, like I did design a chassis as well that holds the 6-rail PCB and the PCB emitter. So that's it. So let's pop a battery in this guy. Spring side is your negative. Take the flat part of your battery, place it in the battery tray. Sorry, that was already on. So if you don't hear anything, you want to hit your kill switch. And while we're outside of the hilt, so there's that shine through. There is a 20/20 neopixel strip there, and then I've got the 2 on the top. Okay. So to put it into the hilt, what I've been doing, what I usually do, obviously this ring doesn't go all the way around the chassis. So I kind of line it up so that the widest part of those LEDs is facing this grid section. So you see it. So essentially it's Proffie board towards the clamp card, right? Slide your chassis in until it stops. There is also a very, very short spacer at the end of this grip that helps to push the chassis right up into the PCB pins. You don't need to do anything, just screw the grip in. Whoops. And you're ready to go. Yeah? So let's come down. So, yeah, I don't know how much I can say that I love the look of the EvoFlex. I love it. But now that we can do, I mean, we've always been able to do that. We've always been able to do touch buttons with Proffie. I've just never seen it been done with an Electrum. I mean, I'm sure people have done it. I've not done it. So to the client, you did send me a pre-config code. So I carried over those blade styles to this board. This board is not on OS 6. I have not really jumped on the OS 6 bandwagon as of yet. I still work in the 5.9 code rev area. So I did take the blade styles directly from your code and put them into this 5.9 config. Okay, so you'll be able to. That sounds. Listen, this 28 millimeter speaker, it screams in this hilt. I mean, this thing sounds. It sounds so good. So in my Electrum, this is my Evo. So in my Evo, sorry. So in my Evo, I've got a 24 millimeter speaker. I'm probably going to rebuild mine now. Unfortunately, I can't carry over the touch buttons because I ruined them when I installed mine years ago. But it sounds so good. Holy shit. So anyway, bottom button is your aux, top is your main. So I've programmed different animations for the middle and top accent neopixels, but you can edit those as you see fit. I know you're competent with writing code, so you can change that if you want.
The NASA team is ready for launch.
So,
Crispity.
So to the client, you did request mostly grayscale stuff, and I did put mostly grayscale stuff on. But there are some extras, as you probably heard. There's some Canon stuff on there. I did add Orbital from Harry Solo, which is a font that he did for me that I'm a huge fan of. But again, you can edit that all out as you see fit. I loaded the SD card with a ton of fonts, so feel free to do whatever you want with them. And that's it. So let's put a blade in it. Right? God, I love the way this thing sounds. It sounds so good. Okay. So to put your blade in, right? Rest it on those handy dandy PCB pins. There is a set screw. I think, yeah, Electrum has a chunky set screw. I do appreciate that for the blade retention. It's a bigger size. And you're ready to go. God, what an upgrade this is. I gotta tell you. This thing sounds so fucking phenomenal. Excuse my language. Anyway, and we know grayscale stuff is super chunky and crispity. Crispity, get it? Anyway, so that's all we got. This was an awesome pleasure build for me. To the client, thank you very much for trusting me with your baby. I'm really happy with the result. It sounds so good. We got the touch buttons working, so I'm happy with it. This is preem stuff. I really like it. So to the viewers, thank you very much for watching. If anyone has any questions, which I'm sure people probably do, want some more detailed explanations as to what I did, please don't be a stranger. I'm happy to help out in any way I can. To the client, again, thank you for trusting me with your build. And with that being said, may the force be with you always.